Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Star Hates You in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled, "I told my husband that this has nothing to do with him. My husband and I just had an argument, if you could even call it that. So my brother recently got a job, which is great, except he was suddenly thrust into single fatherhood. He has a 6-month-old daughter, my niece, and no one to babysit her while he works because the mother is no longer in the picture. He called me asking if I could watch the baby during the week while he works just for a few weeks since he knows I'm a stay-at-home mom myself. I would have said yes, but I couldn't. I'm pregnant and have 2 young kids of my own, one of whom does school from home and I have to help her with it. We're still getting the hang of it because we just moved. By the time I'd be prepared to help, he wouldn't need it anymore. He understood and asked if I knew anyone personally who could help because he was out of people to ask and wanted to avoid daycare since he didn't trust it. He said he would pay and cover everything, but he just urgently needed someone, and I said I'd ask around. I don't really have friends, and I don't know many people in general because I'm very introverted. However, my sister-in-law lives with us and she was just telling me how she needed a job and needed money, so I proposed the idea to her. She immediately agreed and I put her and my brother in a group chat to discuss it, as well as brought my brother over to the house for a face-to-face talk about it. Now, they're not strangers. They've met before, so it wasn't awkward. They talked about the baby, what was needed, etc. My brother didn't have a long-term plan mapped out right then since everything was so abrupt, but my sister-in-law was understanding and said she'd be okay with whatever, and that was that. I'm not sure of other details since they text each other and it isn't really my business. It was up to them. Ultimately, it came down to my brother using Uber to take my sister-in-law to his house early in the morning and then dropping her off at home and seeing how things go, which she agreed to. Everything seemed fine until the day of, when my husband came into our room and blindsided me with all these complaints on her behalf. He said my sister-in-law hadn't eaten since morning, that she wasn't comfortable, that she was tired, and that she didn't even need to be there because other people were home and could have watched the baby, and that they only gave her $100, etc. I was confused because I spoke to my sister-in-law while she was there to check on her, and she said everything was fine. So I told him she didn't say any of those things to me, and I asked her, and she said she wasn't complaining to him. I said to him bluntly, "So she is not complaining, you are complaining for her," and he said, "Yes." I told him I was confused because he was throwing it all at me as if it's my responsibility and that my sister-in-law and my brother are 2 adults who made their own deal, which was up to her, and she agreed to it. Nobody was forcing her. If she was uncomfortable or anything, all she had to do was say it. He continued to repeat the complaints and said, "Do I have to get involved?" I told him the deal doesn't involve him, or me for that matter, and I don't understand why he's the only one upset here when it has nothing to do with him. They are adults. He told me he can't even have a conversation with me and left the room. I'm genuinely confused. Am I missing something here? My sister-in-law is also confused about why he even got worked up to begin with. Am I the asshole? Update. Since I spoke with my sister-in-law and husband separately and got nowhere, I finally had the chance to sit them down together. I remained calm and respectful the entire time. I flat out said, "Okay, so regarding the babysitting arrangement, what's going on? What issues are there and where are they coming from?" My husband made a scoffing sound, looked annoyed, but didn't speak up. So I turned to my sister-in-law and asked her bluntly, "Do you have any complaints, concerns, or problems with the arrangement you and my brother made for babysitting?" She said, "Absolutely not." I asked her, "Are you sure? Did you say anything to my husband that suggests otherwise? It's completely fine if you did, but you have to speak up for yourself and talk about it, even to me if not my brother." She replied, "I honestly have no issues and I didn't complain to anybody, I swear." Then we both looked at my husband. She told him that she was fine with the arrangements and had no complaints. Then she asked him why he had made a scene for no reason. He got defensive and said, "Nobody said you were complaining, it just doesn't make sense to me. There's no point in you doing it and it's not convenient. Are you even getting paid well?" I sat there trying to understand why he was getting so defensive. My sister-in-law shot back at him, telling him it wasn't his business and that it didn't have to make sense to him. She added that she didn't appreciate him doing this without a good reason. He claimed he did have a reason. When we asked what the reason was, he said, "Because it doesn't make sense to me." I calmly asked him which part didn't make sense to him and why he was so bothered by it when it does not affect his or our daily life in any way. I told him it didn't have to make sense to him because it wasn't his arrangement. He got angry, stood up from his seat, rambled about how we were ganging up on him and how we weren't going to make him the bad guy, and complained that nobody listens. My sister-in-law and I just looked at him while he rambled. She seemed just as lost as I was. Still calm, I asked him what he wanted out of this and why he kept trying to involve himself when my sister-in-law clearly said she was happy with the agreement. He responded with, "Nobody uses their brain around here but me, I guess," before walking out. I don't know about you all, but I'm no ass kisser and definitely wasn't about to chase after him or baby him. He was being completely ridiculous in my opinion. So we let him go, and that was that. About an hour later, he came back and started muttering things under his breath like, "My own wife just let me walk out. She doesn't even care about me, and it's just, I guess I just don't matter," while sighing dramatically and dragging everything out. I ignored all of it, and then he came into the room and said, "So you have nothing to say to me?" I replied, "Nope, we tried to address things earlier, but you decided to storm off. So that's that. I think you're being dramatic and that's a you problem." He then called me inconsiderate and selfish before leaving again. Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here or what he's expecting from me. There's your update. Update 2, hello once again. I know a lot of you were wanting to know what's happened. With all the support from you guys, I feel I owe you that. Things have happened and I needed time to be alone, gather myself, and process. My husband continued with his attitude, making side comments under his breath and just being weird. I gave no reactions and ignored it because I have better things to focus on, like my pregnancy and my 2 children. Anyway, I was cleaning and my husband decided to confront me and ask me, "Why are you acting this way?" I asked him what he meant and he said I'm being a certain way towards him. I simply told him I absolutely will not coddle him for an attitude that doesn't make sense for him to have. He got upset, rambling something about how, as his wife, it should matter to me that he's upset. I said I have done nothing to him and gave him chances to explain what was wrong, but he didn't. So it's not my responsibility to fix whatever it is. He said this was all my fault, and I asked him what exactly was my fault. I've done nothing but take care of our kids and our home, as well as him. I told him that he made no sense, that nobody did anything to him. Not me, not my brother, not my sister-in-law, no one. That I wasn't going to deal with his attitude at all, and that he could find somewhere else to stay if he wasn't going to cut it out. He sat down and said, "That's what I'm talking about," saying that my lack of giving a shit and my no-nonsense attitude were upsetting to him. I asked him why I would want to put up with such nonsense, especially while pregnant, and why would that bother him. He started all this drama over something that had nothing to do with him, and then it came. He took a deep breath and broke down with confession after confession. He admitted he had an affair, admitted that he had installed a camera in our home without telling me in hopes I do something stupid so he could use it as defense, and that he'd figured out the woman he cheated with knew my brother, which is why he freaked out about my sister-in-law working for him. He admitted he started drama to create an argument on purpose to give him a reason to feel justified, and my calm reactions made that impossible for him. It bothered him that I never did anything wrong, because he had done something wrong and couldn't shift the blame. I could barely react. I just looked at him, my stomach was hurting, and I couldn't wrap my brain around any of it. He told me he was sorry, that he's a terrible person and doesn't know why he did it, that he loves me, tearing himself down. I just told him to stop talking. I calmly said to remove whatever camera he installed and to find somewhere else to stay. He cried and begged, and I shut it down. He asked if I was going to tell my sister-in-law. "You're worried about me telling people or what other people are going to think of you instead of worrying about the damage you've just done to our family." He left but wouldn't stop calling me, trying to talk. Suddenly, he wants to have a conversation, huh? How funny. I put my phone on silent and went to play with my kids, trying to be normal to shield them from it. I didn't want them to see me upset. I was broken up on the inside, had a scare, and started having sharp pains in my stomach, and then I began to bleed. I was terrified. I thought I'd lost the baby. My family helped me out, and I got to the hospital. Baby is okay. I guess it was just the stress. It was too much. After everything settled, I got home, put my kids to bed, and cried it out. We've been together since we were about 15, and I've never cheated on him ever. We're approaching 30. What kind of thing is that? I've never had a trust issue with him before. I'm not a phone snooper. I just don't do things like that. And I didn't have a reason to. He's never behaved like this before. Maybe he has cheated before and I just don't know about it. I don't even care to know. One time is enough for me. I want a divorce. I will be fair about it. I will not turn our children against him. I won't drag it out. But I am done. Thanks for listening, guys. Baltonerdis said, the millisecond I read, he's picking fights with no justification, I said out loud, he's having an affair. Well, how the tables have turned. To this user, Rob Show said, my mind didn't go to an affair, but I knew he was guilty of something. I think the mention of the fact that he didn't think his sister-in-law was getting paid enough shifted my mind to he lost his job and has been racking up debt. But an affair makes just as much sense. I Am the Knight said, okay, let's assume that this was a good plan that would definitely have worked even if he found something. It's not. It's a terrible idea besides being a huge violation of privacy, but let's pretend. What exactly did he hope to catch her doing with a single camera? She's a pregnant mother of 2 children who is clearly active and involved in managing the household. Is he going to kick the door in and be like, I caught you pretending to go to the bathroom so you could have a minute by yourself? The deception. Not a lot of forethought going on there. Tattoo Vamp said, my ex was like this. He was looking for me to screw up, and I didn't. He was acting so weird that I asked to see his phone, and that was the end of my marriage. Whatever he had on his phone was worth more than me. Your husband is despicable. This second post was made in the same subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, I refuse to change my daughter's clothes at a birthday party. I have 2 kids. My daughter's name is Aurora. My husband and I chose that name because it was slightly similar to my late father-in-law's, and it worked well with our last names. It had nothing to do with the princess from Sleeping Beauty. In spite of that, we've had fun with that movie in the past, and ever since my daughter realized that she shared a name with a Disney character, Princess Aurora has been her favorite. Our family went to Disney World in July, and while there, we bought my daughter a Princess Aurora costume. She adores it and wears it whenever she has the chance. 2 weeks ago, one of Aurora's friends from school threw a princess-themed birthday party. She encouraged her friends to wear costumes. My daughter wanted to go as her favorite character, which didn't surprise me at all. When we got to the party, the birthday girl came to greet my daughter, and she was also dressed as Princess Aurora. I didn't know what her costume was going to be prior to the party. I got worried for a second, but the birthday girl was actually really excited. She said that they looked like twins. It was adorable. They ran off to play, and I forgot about the costumes for a while. About 30 minutes into the party, I was at a table with some of the other moms when the birthday girl's mother came up to me. She asked if I had brought any spare clothes for Aurora. I said yes. She then asked me to change my daughter into the spare clothes and out of her costume. The mother explained that she'd hired a photographer to walk around taking pictures of the kids and was also planning on getting a group photo near the end of the party. She didn't want anyone wearing the same costume as her daughter in these pictures. She also thought her daughter might get jealous, since my kid gets to share her name with their favorite princess. Now, if the birthday girl was the one who had a problem, I might have considered changing Aurora into her spare clothes. But no, she was genuinely excited that they were dressed the same. It also didn't feel fair to force my daughter to be the only one without a costume in a party full of children in princess dresses. I said no and explained my reasoning to the girl's mom. She insisted for a few minutes, but I held my ground. Some of the other moms started to back me up, and she eventually got up and left. When I went to pick up my kids earlier this week, I ran into her friend's mom. She accused me of ruining her daughter's party by allowing Aurora to wear the same costume as her. She told me she doesn't think she'll ever be able to look at the pictures without being disgusted by my behavior. I thought she was exaggerating, but I'm starting to doubt myself. Our conflict has found its way to the mom group chat we're both in, and opinions over there are divided. Some think having 2 girls wear the same costume is no big deal, while others think I should have changed my daughter's clothes. Am I the asshole? I am, Irene said. Oh, you have got to be kidding. You are really not at fault here. That mom, what a piece of work. Jealous that a 4-year-old is going to outshine her precious, gross, and terrible behavior on her part. She should be ashamed. I think it's adorable that the birthday girl was so excited that another Aurora showed up. Good job standing your ground. Nobody puts baby in the corner. That mom has some issues she needs to sort out. Wow. To this OP said, I thought it was adorable too. I remember my classmates would get mad at me for wearing the same costume as them on Halloween when I was a kid. I heard we can't both be Belle more often than I like to remember. I'm glad my daughter didn't go through that. The world is on fire said, F, she was so insistent that no one else be dressed as Aurora. Why wouldn't she specify that when she sent out the invitations? NTA, it sounds to me like another example of a mom wanting her little angel to be the only special one. I mean, I get that it's the kid's birthday party, but it was a princess party. Your daughter dressed up as a princess. If there was nothing indicated not to dress as that specific princess, then you did nothing wrong. This is on that mother and her own expectations. Pensaha said, nothing was known ahead of time that the mom had such a rule. And I have to wonder, had there been other princess twins, was it expected that there would be no duplicate outfits, period? The woman is the one with the problem. It doesn't take much to ruin things for such people. I suspect they try to set things up to be ruined. Update. Hey everyone, thank you for assuring me that I did the right thing. This might get a little long. Since my post on Thursday, 3 things happened. On Friday, my husband went to pick up the kids. The parents of one of my son's friends asked if he knew about the costume fiasco. I had told him everything. He said the birthday girl's mother was being ridiculous, as I had no idea what her daughter's costume would be. The mom he was talking to asked, wait, she didn't know. She called me and I told her my side. It turned out that the birthday girl's mom had told people that I had been informed about the costume weeks prior to the party. The story was warped before it even got to the group chat. My side of the story made it to the group chat. After some pressure, the birthday girl's mom eventually confessed that she had lied about me. Most of the other moms had apologized to me by Sunday. Also apologizing to us on Sunday were the birthday girl's father and maternal grandmother. Apparently, the birthday girl's mom had been complaining about the party almost daily. Since they got the photos back, she has been insisting that there isn't a single good picture of her daughter without another girl wearing the same costume. She was especially upset about the group photo, which shows the birthday girl in the center and my daughter to her right. There are 2 girls between them, but she still thinks they are too close to each other. The birthday girl's dad had been listening to these complaints since the party. He told us that unless his daughter was in the room, he couldn't look at the pictures without his wife making a comment about me, my daughter, or how we ruined the birthday girl's birthday. It came to a head on Saturday. While talking with the grandmother after the birthday girl went to bed, the mother said she no longer wanted to make a photo album of the party. They had hired a photographer for both album and social media purposes. Both the birthday girl's dad and her grandmother wanted the album. The 3 had a fight that lasted about 15 minutes before the grandmother told the birthday girl's mom to stop obsessing over her daughter's friend. She said all that matters is that the birthday girl had fun and all of the photos reflect that. They told us all that when they called to apologize. They wanted the birthday girl's mom to apologize too. She hasn't. Aurora came home from school yesterday wearing a headband with her name and a rose embroidered on it. The birthday girl had her grandmother make it for her. My husband and I are still in contact with the birthday girl's father, and we're trying to set up a play date for the girls next week. Also, there are some things I want to clarify about my previous post. My daughter and the birthday girl aren't physically similar. Aurora has wavy brown hair while the birthday girl has straight blonde hair. We're all Caucasian, but my daughter is more tan. Their dresses weren't exactly the same. I posted links to my daughter's costume and one similar to the birthday girl's dress in a comment on my last post. The party was held at a kids' party venue, not the birthday girl's home. There were 19 girls and a toddler at the party. All were in costume. There were also a few boys, but they were older. I was never friends with the birthday girl's mom. Her request at the party was probably the 3rd time we ever talked, and the first time it wasn't about the weather. The birthday girl's mother didn't want me to change my daughter's clothes just for the group photo at the end. She wanted me to change her 30 minutes into the party for all the pictures. I mentioned in a comment that if the birthday girl had a problem with my daughter's costume, I might be willing to drive home, change Aurora into her Merida dress, and then return to the party. However, I want to stress that I'd only do that if the birthday girl was upset when we got to the party, not if her mother was annoyed half an hour later. By then, my daughter was already playing with the birthday girl and her friends. To those who said I could change Aurora at the party or use this as a teaching moment, I'm going to assume you've never met a 4-year-old. My daughter is kind-hearted and would definitely do it to make her friend happy, but she'd still view this as punishment. It's also cruel to take a child away from a party and tell them they can no longer play princess with their friends. I refuse to alienate or upset my daughter when she's done nothing wrong. I absolutely don't regret my decision, and that's it. Once again, thank you all. This final post was made in the TIFU subreddit by a user named Samus. The post is titled, "I gave my youngest son advice on happy relationships and caused my oldest son's GF to dump him. First, I would like to say that this actually happened on my youngest son's birthday, but today is the day my oldest son confronted me, so here is what happened. After the cake and presents, my youngest son and I were chatting. He is a young teenager, and now that my wife and I feel he is old enough and mature enough, we gave him permission to begin dating. He wanted advice on his future relationships. The conversation began by talking about learning to respect your partner, etc. I can't remember everything I said, but here are some highlights. Always be ready and willing to say you're sorry even when you think you're right. Never dismiss your girlfriend's feelings. They are valid even if you don't understand them. Communicate, communicate, communicate. If something is bothering you and you don't tell your significant other, you're only hurting yourself. Listen when she is trying to tell you something, no matter how much you don't want to hear it. Put the game controller down and mute the TV whenever she wants your attention. End every conversation with a sign of your affection, and if you won't see her for a few hours, give her a hug, a kiss, or both, every time. Throughout the day, randomly tell her you're thinking about her, you care about her, or you love her, and mean it. If you stop meaning it, figure out why and fix it or break up. Trust is important, and once you've broken it, you might never fix it again. Many people believe love is the most important thing in a relationship, but it's not. It's respect. If you don't respect your partner or feel she doesn't respect you, talk about it and fix it or break up. Otherwise, you will both be miserable. There were a bunch of other pieces of advice I gave him, but that's the general gist. It wasn't all seriousness, we joked around a bit too. I told him this little bit of advice my dad told me a long time ago. You will know when your girlfriend is completely comfortable around you when she is willing to fart in front of you. Don't marry her until that happens. Sage advice, that is. Now, my youngest and I were sitting at my desk having this talk while he was picking out the video games he wanted to buy with his birthday money. My daughter and my oldest son's now ex-girlfriend were on the couch playing video games and listening to us. My daughter occasionally chimed in with her own comments and had her own bits of advice to give, though her comments were more about how to act on dates, places they can go, and stuff like that. My oldest son's girlfriend hardly spoke at all. Eventually, my oldest boy came over and dropped off his gift for his little brother. He and his girlfriend stuck around long enough for him to have some cake, and then they left. At this point, I don't know exactly what happened. My daughter managed to get some details from my oldest son's ex-girlfriend. I got some more from my oldest when he came over to yell at me for breaking up his relationship. Long story short, my oldest wasn't being a good boyfriend. His girlfriend confronted him with some issues they've been having. She felt like he didn't respect her opinions and feelings, and she dumped him. It's that simple. I love all my children with every bit of my heart, even when they are mad at me, and I admit I messed up. I am to blame for his breakup, but not because of what I said in front of his girlfriend. I messed up because I didn't drill the advice I gave my youngest into my oldest boy's head when he was younger. He wants me to post this on one of the online forums, but I am not going to do that. I admit that I could be a better father, and I can be a real jerk sometimes, but I'm pretty damn sure that even though I could have read the room, that wasn't the real problem. Hopefully my oldest son learns from this. Update. I've had a few requests for an update, but life and its troubles kept happening each new day since my original post. I made some comments on the original post, but there were just too many to answer everyone and deal with the private messages people sent me. I'll try to answer the many and varied questions in this update. I'd like to clarify that my oldest son is a young adult and no longer lives in my home. He came over long enough to drop off my youngest son's gift, eat some cake, and left with his girlfriend. My daughter and youngest son are still teenagers. My daughter and my oldest son's girlfriend met through my son, but they are still friends even after the breakup. With that said, on with the update. After my oldest son and his girlfriend broke up and he yelled at me for it. Many things have been said, some things I didn't know were revealed, and some secrets were told. I gave my son a couple of days to cool off before I spoke with him. My wife tried calling a few times, but he wouldn't answer his phone, so I went over to his apartment. His roommate convinced him to let me in to talk, and we did. We also did some shouting, a bit of yelling, and hugged once as well. This is when I found out that my son got a job offer out of state a few weeks ago. It's part of an apprenticeship through his trade school. He is considering it, and this was one of the reasons for the recent tension between him and his girlfriend. She wanted him to stay here where her family is, and he wanted her to go with him if he took the apprenticeship. It's almost twice the hourly rate he makes at his current job, and the apprenticeship will pay for some of his time spent in classes, although the cost of living is higher there as well. Some people pointed out that my son is a bit misogynistic, and I initially thought that might be a bit true. I learned that part of this is from some of the examples he has seen in my home. I talked to him about this and discovered that he sees things about my marriage in a way they were never meant to be seen. One thing that my son pointed out to me was this thing my wife and I call my magic coffee cup. You see, when my wife is home, I am not allowed to make my own coffee. My wife has always made my coffee since we first started dating. This isn't something I have ever demanded, it's just the way things have always been. It became a joke between my wife and me when we were dating that my coffee cup must be magic because I've never had to fill it myself. Now, after many years of marriage, it's become something I don't even think about. My wife will pick up my empty cup and say some silly magic words like hocus pocus or bibbidi boo while waving her hands over it, and then she takes it to the kitchen and makes me a fresh cup. Sometimes I will pick up my empty cup and say some magic words, then shake the cup or peek inside, and in a pitiful, whiny voice say to my wife, "Honey, my magic cup isn't working again." The few times I have tried to make my own coffee when she is home, she gets up, hip checks me out of the way, and makes it for me. I learned my lesson long ago, but my kids never saw that play out when it first developed. This is not the misogynistic act my oldest son believes it to be. I do not think it is my wife's place to have to slave for me by making my coffee. She does it because she loves doing it, not because she has to. If she told me today that I had to make my coffee from now on, I wouldn't say a peep. I'll kiss my wife and go make my coffee. This has become part of another running joke that we have going. The joke is that we each don't let the other do specific things around the house so that the other forgets how to do them so we can never leave each other. Officially, I do all the laundry and she does all the dishes. I learned to cook her favorite foods so she forgot how to make them, and she does the same for mine. For example, she can't make eggs over easy anymore, and I've forgotten how to make a good slop. This and other little quirks is part of our love language, and it has taken many years to develop. My son mistook the nuanced, unspoken parts of our marriage for some sort of male-female traditional marriage role nonsense. He was seeing the end result of years of small compromises, fights, agreements, and other factors that led to the way our marriage works today. Now, while I was having that talk with my oldest boy, my wife and daughter were talking with his ex-girlfriend. We all really like her and would hate to see them broken up forever. They discovered all the things my son wasn't telling me. From what they learned, my oldest son has been listening to certain podcasters and social media influencers that are very misogynistic. My son wanting her to move out of state with him while she was reluctant to do so is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to their real problems. When they talked about their futures, they had wildly differing views on what those futures would be like. For example, he got it stuck in his head that women should do the lion's share of the housework. To be fair, doing the dishes seems like it takes a lot more effort than doing laundry, since most of the time is spent waiting for a dryer cycle to finish. But doing the laundry is more than just washing and folding clothes while watching TV or playing video games. It's changing the linens, changing out the towels and robes in the bathrooms, and changing out and cleaning the curtains around the home. None of my kids has ever had to put fresh sheets on their beds because I do it for them. My wife has done our bed maybe once in the last half dozen years. Laundry, like dishes, is a monster that you battle endlessly. In a good marriage, you and your partner fight those battles side by side, no matter how you split up the workload exactly. Anyway, I hate to see them remain broken up, but my son needs to grow up a bit before that has any hope of happening. I suggested therapy, though I doubt my son will look into it. He's at the age where he thinks he knows everything. He hasn't attained the wisdom to realize that no matter how perfect we think we are, everyone screws up, and sometimes the way we think is very, very wrong. Patrick, I love you, but you need to get your head out of your ass. Kylie3 said that the son came over to blame the father for ruining his relationship is pretty much all I needed to see. The update post just reinforced how blatantly immature and unready he is for a genuine relationship. Good on the ex-girlfriend for taking words of wisdom to heart and taking action to ensure her life and her happiness are a priority. Dryad said, the kid loves to push responsibilities off on other people. I guess, from relationships failing to making coffee. That said, I do wish more parents would remember that preparing their kids to become adults means not just the big decision-making stuff, but also the small stuff. A weirdly large number of kids go to college or their first flat and simply don't know how to clean their bathroom or wash their sheets. Dawn1139 said, Dad seems like a good egg. His son should ditch social media and learn from his example. Tate's version of masculinity is toxic and outdated and is actually crippling. I work in pharmacy at a hospital, and the number of older veterans who rely entirely on their wives to take care of their medications is staggering. I've lost count of the guys who are newly widowed or divorced who have zero clue about what they're taking, how to take it, when to renew their prescriptions, or the concept of refills. I don't know, my my wife took care of that. It translates to other aspects of their lives. Things as simple as laundry, dishwashing, etc. they don't know how to do. Cooking? Forget about it. TV dinners all day, every day. People rightfully talk about how the traditional patriarchy victimizes women and rips away their rights and potential, but it's also incredibly damaging to men. There's a reason why a lot of women complain about their husbands being their oldest child. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, GamerSupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.